Welcome back to 11 of the last 20. Next on our countdown is a lefty who dominated during his career for the Warriors. Check him out.
Number 7, Warwick's Travis Reever, 3-year starter for the Warriors, future Division I pitcher at Virginia Commonwealth University.
He was just an intimidating presence out on the mound.
Strike 3 is called on the inside part of the plate.
Travis, tall lefty with really good pop. His junior year, he had 80 strikeouts in 50 innings, which is a reflection of the dominance he had.
Very impressive, though, 1.17 ERA.
Good 2 pitches, good breaking ball. Used his body, used his height and his legs very, very well. And again, the kind of kid who really wanted the ball in important times and could give you a lot of innings, really competitive young man.
Reaps him.
He's doing a tremendous job this afternoon of really placing his pitches, now in just on the outside corner.
He was a kid that wanted to be in that situation to help his team. The thing that really comes to mind is being a big game pitcher.
And once again, 2 strikeouts in the inning for Travis Reever.
And back at that time, when he was a junior and senior in 13 and 14, I was on that staff, and it was, in Section 1, it was a 3-team dog race with Warwick, Hempfield, Penn Manor. Those 3 teams were so equal, and any given game, anybody could win. So in 2 years, while Travis was at Warwick, they played Penn Manor and Hempfield a total of 8 times. And in those 8 games, Travis pitched 6 of them and was 5-0. He had a lot of strikeouts. He had at least 2, if not 3 of those games were shutouts.
He was an ace pitcher for Warwick that threw strikes and helped lead them to the playoffs a couple of times and did a great job.
Number 6, Ephrata's Brandon Miller, future All-American pitcher at Millersville University, 6th-round draft pick of the Seattle Mariners.
Brandon Miller was a kid at Ephrata that just had a really good high school career.
And that one brushed him back, but boy, he was crowding the plate, and that was right inside strikeout number 5.
Brandon was a guy who pounded the strike zone. He was more of a control pitcher, pitch to contact.
Pushes it down the first baseline. Miller, trouble getting it, finally regains himself, makes a low throw.
Brandon was a great 2-way player in addition to being a pitcher, but another guy that really got better in his high school career. Strike 3.
That pitch right down Broadway.
What he's known for is his career after he left the Mounts.
He comes to us, I think 2010. We get this tall, wiry kid who probably weighed about 135 and leaves our program at, I want to say, 170 and ends up going to Millersville and playing for Johnny and ends up being, 215, 225. I attribute that to a lot of hard work. He put in a lot of time. One of the hardest workers I've ever had the opportunity to coach. Another big arm, was 86, 87 at times, 88, and then ends up hitting 90, 91, 92 later on. And I really felt he was a guy, based on his work ethic, who was going to physically and mentally mature at the next level. I knew we didn't see the best that his career was going to wind up to be.
Brandon Miller has made leaps and bounds. Miller's record is 10-1 in 11 starts, leads the team in strikeouts with 64, and has become an integral part of the team.
All-American at Millersville, led them or helped lead them to a berth in the College World Series, and ends up getting drafted 177th overall, 6th round by the Mariners. Great kid, and helped win us a bunch of section titles.
Number 5, Ephrata's Nate Young, future Division I pitcher at George Mason University.
If you look back over the history of the Lancaster-Lebanon League, I'm not sure you're going to find a more dominant one-year performance than what Nate Young put up in 2018, his senior year with Ephrata.
Swing and a miss. Filer down on strikes, a pair of strikeouts for Nate Young here in the first inning.
Nate Young was one of those guys who just came into a senior season, not many people heard of him, and just burst onto the scene and actually had one of the most dominant pitching seasons I've ever seen.
He had threw a no-hitter. I remember Todd Ruth coming back into the office the next day and just raving about the performance that he watched.
Strikeout pitcher, just threw hard. I mean, he was amazing season.
Swung on and missed.
So I've been coaching many years, and I can say for certain that I never have seen anybody rise in meteoric fashion to the prominence that he was able to rise to.
Nate Young with a strikeout to start the ball game.
And that's something we may hear a lot today. Nate Young with the strikeout.
He goes on one of the most impressive runs of starts that I've ever seen. I was the guy calling the pitches, and I don't know if I can believe it still.
Some of the stats he put up are just, they're crazy. They're just ridiculous against really quality opponents. And that's the thing that if you really sit down and look at it, it's amazing. Some of the best programs in District 3, Governor Mifflin, 17 strikeouts. Lampeter Strasburg, 6-inning no-hitter, 13 strikeouts. He beat Cumberland Valley. He beat Lower Dauphin, who was the #1 seed going into the districts. A pretty amazing single season, and it's something that you just don't see a whole lot of.
If Blue Bridge was doing 30 on 30s, you should do an episode. The first episode should be on him because you know, it's quite an interesting 5-6 weeks of dominant performances, going from basically he was a reliever to start the season, not even in our rotation, to being the best pitcher in the league and maybe the best pitcher in the district.
Number 4, Warwick Zack Peters, Warriors all-time leader in wins and strikeouts.
For the Warwick Warriors, it'll be their ace, Zack Peters.
First word that comes to mind is a bulldog kind of a guy.
Zack Peters was just such a bulldog. I mean, you gave him the ball and you had to rip it out of his hands. He was, he was one of those guys that, he wasn't going to get beat without a fight.
Nice off-speed pitch.
There you go. It gets them looking for out number 2. A strikeout for Zack Peters.
Just one of the most mentally tough players I've ever coached. And I actually got to coach Zack from the time he was about 9-10 years old. And I coached him through youth, and I was assistant at Warwick when he was there all 4 years. And he put together an outstanding career.
Yeah, that's one out of here.
At Warwick.
When you're the school's all-time wins leader, that says something. When there was a big game and Zack got called upon, he came through.
If a game mattered, he would go out of his way to come to me. 3 days rest, short rest. Coach, I can do this, I can do this. And that's what you want in a pitcher. He just wanted the ball when it really counted.
Rings him up for his 5th strikeout of the game, and a pretty clutch strikeout there for Zack Peters.
Just an absolute competitor.
Career 1.63 ERA, which is pretty incredible. But then you think about his last 2 years as a junior and senior, he put up 2 straight years with a sub-1 ERA. Zack Peters was just one of those grinded out pitchers. I mean, you always knew what you were going to get with Zack. I mean, you got everything he had. And I remember Coach Locker, the times he'd have to come out and we'd be in the dugout, okay, we're going to pull him, what are we going to do? And he'd go out and Zack would give him that look like, I'm not giving you the ball. And as a coach, you can't ask for anything more than that. You just want someone who's willing to compete, and that was certainly Zack Peters.
All Zack Peters for the Warriors, tossing an absolute gem of a game. We've cracked the top 5 in our countdown, but coming up next, we unveil who made the top 3 and who's walking away as our #1 pitcher the last 20 years.